Hello everyone, hope you are well. I wanted to continue on my legend series and I wanted to apologize. It's someone that I should have put long before, and I had thought about putting him many times, but I kept on postponing because he is actually the first great superstar of West Indian cricket and considered a big legend and someone who was absolutely astonishing the way he played cricket in a time when West Indies cricket was weak. And he was also called the Black Bradman, and he had such an influence on the black community as well. So I do really apologize for putting him so late. I'm talking about the great George Headley of West Indies. He was born 30th May 1909 in Panama, actually. But he played first class cricket for Jamaica, and he is considered as West Indies' first great superstar batsman, and he is considered as one of the best cricketers of all time. And his average of 60.83 is the fourth best test average ever of any batsman who has scored more than 2,000 runs. Sir Don Bradman, obviously, with 99.94, is the first on the list. And even Sir Don Bradman had a lot of respect for George Headley. He played only 22 test matches in his life, which mostly came before the World War II, and he scored 2,190 runs in just 22 test matches, and his average was 60.83, astonishing average, and he scored 10 hundreds, and his highest was 270 not out that came against England, which was the best West Indian individual score record, and it was only broken by Sir Garfield Sobers when he scored that 365 not out in 1958, which was later broken by Brian Lara and then Matthew Hayden and then again Brian Lara. And the 10 centuries that he scored was 10 centuries out of the first 14 hundreds that was scored by the West Indian team in Test cricket. That is an astonishing achievement. I'm just repeating, the first 14 Test hundreds that came from a West Indian cricket team, 10 of them was from George Headley. So you can imagine how much of an influence he had on the West Indian team. And he was called the Black Bradman, and he was the Wisden Cricketer of the Year in 1934, one of the Wisden Cricketers of the Year in 1934 as well. And he was regarded as someone who was excellent on the back foot, especially with his square cuts and late cuts and even hook shots. But they say the most famous shot of him was the back foot on drive, that he was very powerful and he used to hit the ball very hard, they say. And he was extremely difficult to get out, which you can understand from that extreme average of a 60.83. And he's also considered as someone who was excellent on batting wickets, like Herbert Sutcliffe, for example. And talking about Herbert Sutcliffe, George Headley also has another record. He is the second batsman after Herbert Sutcliffe that I have given in my Legend series to score two centuries in the same test twice. After Herbert Sutcliffe, he is the second batsman to have ever done that. And he had a massive influence on the black community, because at that time, the black community, there weren't a lot of representation in cricket, and cricket was seen as a white sport. And it says that his contributions gave a lot of pride and self-respect to the black community in West Indies. And obviously it was a massive thing considering all the slavery and all the history of West Indies. So his influence was a lot, and his impact was a lot, and it went outside the cricket field. So he was such a inspirational figure in his community. So he is definitely like a great legend, like Sir Frank Worrell, Clyde Walcott, and even Everton Weeks, which I gave. But I'm really again sorry that I didn't give George Headley before. He is the first great superstar of the West Indian cricket team. At the time, the West Indian cricket team was pretty weak. And he scored a century every fourth innings he batted, which is amazing in itself. And that is only second to Sir Don Bradman's uh, average of scoring hundreds per innings. That is crazy. I mean, every a century every fourth innings, because he's played only 22 test matches and he has scored 10 hundreds as well. And like I said, he was a very powerful batsman on the back foot, they say, and he was very difficult to get out. And he also had a nickname Atlas because he carried the team on his shoulders. They say because at that time, like I mentioned, the West Indian cricket team was weak and they were largely dependent on George Headley's batting, and he rarely ever gave a bad performance. He was always ever consistent, and he carried the West Indian team on his shoulders. And he is also the first West Indian to score a Test century on his debut. In his first Test match, in the second innings, he scored 176. That was his first century on debut, and that was he made him the first West Indian to score a century on a Test debut. And another great thing about George Headley, people who remember cricket from the mid late 90s would remember his grandson Dean Headley. He actually played for England. I remember him obviously as a youngster, bald head, who used to have a side on action. And before that, George Headley's son Ron Headley also played cricket a lot, first class, and he also played a couple of Test matches for West Indies. And then his grandson Dean Headley, obviously playing for England as well. With that made their family the first family ever in cricket history to have three generations play Test cricket. So that is just an amazing, stunning achievement of the family. So George Headley, a lot of things to say about him. And a lot of people used to admire his batting in those times in the 1930s. And he was such a prolific scorer for West Indies. And he did a lot of things for West Indies. Like I said, the community, the impact that he had on the community, and even he once shook the hands of the King of England, which was a big thing for the West Indian public because of all the racial discrimination and all the slavery history of West Indies. So the impact of George Headley on cricket and on his community was just massive. And I'm just saying, his 60.83 average, just repeating, is the fourth best average in the history of cricket. The first is actually Sir Don Bradman, the second Adam Walsh of Australia, and third is Graham Pollock of South Africa. And 60.83, George Headley is the fourth best test average of anyone who has scored more than 2,000 runs. And he was also the first West Indian to score a double century, that 270 not out, being a West Indian record for many years until it was broken by Sir Garfield Sobers. So that is my video on George Headley, the first great superstar of West Indian cricket, the first great batsman that West Indian team had, who scored a lot of runs, tons of runs, and it was difficult to get out. And in that West Indian team, he was the only world-class player. And his average 60.83, his 10 hundreds in 22 matches, and his highest 270 not out, all shows how great a batsman he was. And he was even responsible for the first Test series win for West Indies as well. So the impact that he had was excellent. And they say that all West Indian batsmen were measured against the quality of George Headley. He was like a yardstick for West Indian batsmen. So he is an absolute legend. I've given a lot of legends from West Indian cricket, and George Headley is right up there. And I just apologize once again for giving him too late in my legend series. I'm really sorry about it, but I'm so happy that at least I gave it now. Better late than never. And I hope you enjoy this video, and I'm sure it's new information for a lot of new people, especially new generation. Anyway, take care everyone. God bless you. Thank you.